spent 2 years self-converting this Sprinter van into our little home on wheels. Now we're on a 4-month tour around most of Europe to make sure it does what it's supposed to do.
We're Sarah and Ben. Welcome to Diamonds on Tour. Please subscribe and check out our channel every Friday and also on Instagram nearly every day.
And over on our channel you'll see lots more videos including our van build and lots more of our travels. Hello. Right, we have just entered Slovenia and we're now the proud owners of a little box of plastic that has just cost us €45. I'll explain why. This is the Vignette system, and for most people up to 3.5 tons you can register online and you don't need any device, you just drive through and it charges you the toll fees. For us, because we're over 3.5 tons, we have to have this little electronic tag, the DARS Go system, and we put it in the windscreen. We'll show you in a minute. And this, you pay a €10 deposit for the device, which I think we get back when we hand it back in again at the end. And then you put money on your account, you register it against your name and against the vehicle, and also against the Euro classification of the emissions of the vehicle. This is a Euro 5, but because I think this is true in the UK, we don't actually have any evidence of being Euro 5. He spoke about a certificate for your vehicle. We don't have that, so it's classed as a Euro 0 vehicle, which is the highest emissions rate, and so we have the privilege of being charged even more for our tolls in this country. He says that the journey up to Ljubljana, which is about 150 kilometers, I think, I'll confirm that down here in a moment, will be about €28 for this vehicle for Euro 0, and it would be less than that for a more modern classification of emissions on your vehicle. So what we've also done is topped up with €35 the account, so then when we go through the barriers it automatically connects and it debits that amount from our account. Now, because he says the toll is going to be about 28, that should leave us a balance of about €7 in the account, which, fingers crossed, we should be able to get back again when we leave this this system. I guess we'll fill you in on that later when we do leave. In the meantime, I've got to get it sorted, stick it on the windscreen, check it's not in the way of our blinds in the window so that we can close our blinds tonight, and we'll be on the road up to Ljubljana. Morning. Now, we had a good night last night, parked in this air over here. One little snag was that our parking spot was this one just here, where there's that big pile of concrete now. And we had a bit of a wake-up call at 7:30 this morning when the builders who were doing some work here arrived for work and wanted their space to be able to carry on with their works. But the night was good, no problem at all. We knew we were probably going to have to move because we'd had to move a barrier the night before in order to get into that parking space that we'd asked the workers, and they said that was fine overnight. So it was only €10 for the night with all the services, so we can dump water, empty the toilet and fill up our water. The other minor snag was that the trains start running, and they're quite close. And here's the railway platform. And at 5:30 this morning the announcement started on the station and we were awoken to the very first train of the morning. So slightly early start, but not really so much of a problem. There's a little bit of noise from the motorway that you can see up there in the distance, but it's a really good location. It was about a 10-minute cycle ride into the city last night where we got a fabulous dinner, and we had another interesting little experience. Now, I said a few minutes ago that I was going to tell you a little bit more about what we witnessed while we were in Ljubljana. Now, one of the consequences of this was that we actually didn't record any usable video. Took a few stills, so I'll show you a few of those stills now over this segment, so apologies for not getting much video of it, but I think you'll understand.
We arrived in Ljubljana and decided we'd go in on our bikes into the town for a nice evening out. We wanted to really see Ljubljana in the dark with all the lights and things. So set off on the bikes, easy ride in, no problems at all. Got to the main street and found somewhere a bike rack to put our bikes, locked them up and set off walking around, exploring all the streets and we had the bars, and it was really, really lovely walking around. And there was a rather strange looking chap who was, well, he got a big pair of bolt cutters, and he was having a big pair of bolt cutters, and he was having a go at a bike chain. That wasn't right. There's something wrong there. We need to go back and see what was going on. So we turned around, and when we got back to the chap, there he is still with his bolt cutters, and he was being challenged by a young man. He said, what are you doing? And he sort of became all flustered, this chap, and just set off, really set off. Took his bolt cutters, he got a rucksack on, chucked them in the rucksack and set off at the rate of knots. But we didn't sort of leave it there, did we?
No, and just to say that these were two very, very high-end electric bikes. They're the sort of thing that would have cost maybe €6,000 or €7,000 each. So this guy was after probably, you know, 12,000, 13,000 euros worth of bikes. Rich pickings.
He was just blatant, wasn't he?
Totally blatant.
He wasn't trying to cover up the fact he got his dirty, great big bolt cutters out. He was there doing, which is what made us think that I think both of us thought, oh, he obviously has broken his key or something to his lock. I think that was our initial thought.
You become an amateur sleuth, don't you, in a situation like this. We actually, we went round the block, and then we thought, we'll double back, go and have a look. And sure enough, he was there again.
Yeah. So we challenged him, didn't we, this time?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we challenged him, you know, what are you doing? And he became quite defensive. Now, at that point, a police car came round the corner. So we flagged it down. We were both there in the street going, stop, stop. And then at that point, the guy who had begun making off started sprinting off in the opposite direction. But we did get back to the scene when the police were back and they'd got him in the back of their van. And you know, we ended up giving the police statements and all our contact details and stuff. And it actually made us feel a bit good, didn't it? Quite cool.
Yes, it did actually. Yeah, it was quite exciting, really.
Yeah.
And then we went off and had a curry, didn't we?
We did. We had a magnificent curry. Very, very good.
Lovely. A celebratory curry.
Yeah, that's right. And that's why we didn't end up filming any video for you guys, I'm afraid. But hope you understand. The other point to make is, you know, this was the very first and only in this so far 7,000-mile journey around Europe that involved any crime of any sort. Ljubljana is an absolutely beautiful city.
Stunning.
Really lovely place, and Slovenia is a beautiful country, and this certainly hasn't put us off any of that. And it's clearly, you know, a guy who was probably down on his times, having a hard time, trying to make ends meet, and sadly resorted to a life of crime. That can happen anywhere. So that's what we got up to in Ljubljana. Hi.
Hello.
Well, this morning we've driven for less than an hour north of Ljubljana, and we're here at Lake Bled.
It's lush.
It's
really lush.
Very,
beautiful.
Very beautiful. Very touristy, but there's a very good reason for that.
Yeah, I think
It's
so.
an amazing place to visit.
Stunning, isn't it?
Probably really good now towards the second half of September when the crowds have died down, but the weather's still incredible.
Yeah, it's just beautiful.
Yeah, it really does live up to the hype. So we're going to continue on the bikes back up to where we parked the van, and then we're moving on to tonight's park up, which is part the way towards Italy from here, I think.
Yeah, we're on the way to the Dolomites, baby. stopped here at this really nice cafe for a cup of coffee and decided to have a really delicious piece of cake. We would have shown you, only it was so delicious that it was gone within 30 seconds.
It feels strange to see all this skiing infrastructure. It's so familiar to us from wintertime travels. It all looks a little bit out of place at this time of year. Well, it's definitely not the most extensive ski resort I've ever seen. I'm sure it's good fun though.
Welcome to
Italy!
Hey, ka-ching! Get in! Good morning from last night's camp up, which is situated in the Julian Alps, which is at the end of the Dolomites, which is where we're headed next. So fabulous views all around. It's an interesting site. It's an air, what you would call an air in France. So very, very modern, set up by the municipality, set up by the local council of this nice town, and it's got everything that you need for a pitch, really. We've come out of the barrier now. It's a marvellous electric barrier that you get a secret code for from the bar. I'll tell you a little bit more about that later. So as you can see perhaps through the wire, we've got electricity, water at each pitch, and a pitch costs just €10 for the night for 24 hours. Also, separately, there's a super duper toilet disposal, which Ben said is the best one is used. So that's pretty good. So all very nice. A little bit noisy because we are on a main road here. We got a good night's sleep anyway. Now the cafe, rather dinky-doo little cafe, is situated on a rather marvellous bike track. The cafe, rather nice. We had our tea there. Really lovely guy running it, and food's it's basic food really, but very, very nice and so cheap. So cheap, it was great. So we had a nice evening, and they've got this funky little railway carriage sitting there that's ex-railway carriage, I suppose, and that's a restaurant as well. It can be booked out for parties and things, or just used to have your tea in it. We chose to have our tea in the main cafe area there. I'm going to get out of this road because bikes do trundle down it at quite a pace. So yeah, over to Ben really for information about the bike track.
Yeah, as Sarah said, this is a cycle track. You'll see that it's basically following the line of the old railway line. And where this restaurant is what used to be the railway station. So they've got the old historic train there, kitted out now so that they can do wedding parties and things in there. But the cycle path is really interesting because it's called the Alp Adria cycle path. And it goes, as the name suggests, from the Alps to the Adriatic. So it starts right up in Salzburg, many, many miles north of here, in Austria, and travels right across Austria, over the Alps, and all the way down through this region, crossing the Julian Alps, and all the way down that way, eventually to the Adriatic Sea. We're not going to be cycling this route today. It is a little bit damp today. We were going to do a couple of miles, just a little run down it, but we'll save that for another day, I think. To reach our first proper destination in Italy, we had to drive up this very steep, very long mountain pass. The weather was extremely bad as we climbed into the clouds, and Sarah wasn't very keen on the place I chose to park.
Yeah. Oh, don't go any closer. Don't go any closer, please.
To find out where we are and to see more of the incredible place where we woke up, make sure you subscribe and click on the notification bell. See you all next week.